Interview or interrogation. I was watching this interview with Anele and the club on 94.7 yesterday on YouTube. I'll put the link in the description so that you can go check it yourself. And immediately what I felt was that Anele came across as an ANC agent rather than a real radio host. Immediately, from the moment Helen Zille was introduced and started speaking to her, etc., it was Anele on the offense and trying to prove her wrong, point out things from the past and comparing Cape Town and trying to bring in flaws and faults into the mix to try and, what it felt to me, discredit Helen Zille the whole time. What I want you to do is go watch that interview on YouTube. It's important that you watch it on YouTube because you get a bit of body language and facial expressions that you don't get on the radio interview part. And I want you to cut out color or what you know about these two people completely. Don't consider anything that you knew about Helen Zille. Don't consider anything that you knew or know about Anele. Take them as just two normal people and then listen to that whole interview, or at least the first half thereof. Let's say the first 5 minutes. And then you will realize that this interviewer wasted 20 minutes of their time and our time, the listener's time, because she did nothing really constructive to the whole process of an interview of a mayor of Johannesburg. That was what this whole thing was supposed to be about, but it felt more like an interview about the history of the mayor of Cape Town. It was all about flaws, faults, etc. from the past. And yet we have here Mayor of the Year, Helen Zille. And I just want to switch over here to where it says, Helen Zille, Mayor of Cape Town, wins 2008 World Mayor Prize. Have you got any idea how big of an award that is? And I want to read this last section here that they say. Commentators supporting her nomination said that in a country devoid of present-day role models, this amazing lady was making a difference and giving people there hope. Her only equals are Desmond Tutu and Nelson Mandela in South Africa. In other words, these people that gave her this award, a world award, put her on the same level as Desmond Tutu and Nelson Mandela. In other words, you are speaking to a person that should be treated with respect. Do you think that anything of Anele in this 20 minutes of interview was done with respect? I want to give you another bit of a comparison. Imagine we replace Helen Zille with Julius Malema, and you allow Anele to speak those exact same words in the same manner, the same tone, with the same arrogance, with the same interruptions, the constant interruptions, the same wording. Do you think that that man will sit back and accept what's being said? Even Cyril Ramaphosa, put him in that same seat. You may argue that, you can't compare Cyril Ramaphosa and Julius Malema to Helen Zille. And I will say, then I say to you, do you place Cyril Ramaphosa or Julius Malema on the same level that you place Desmond Tutu and Nelson Mandela, when there are people in the world that place her there, Helen Zille? One of the things mentioned was a segregation thing, where you have rich people, poor people, etc. And Anele uses segregation as an issue that is going to hurt Helen Zille's prospects of becoming the mayor of Johannesburg. And yeah, I want to say, but don't we get the same segregation problem in every single city in the world? How is this a Cape Town problem? How is this a DA problem? And how is this a Helen Zille problem? It is an accepted problem worldwide. It doesn't come from a person, an organization. It is a social construct. It is there because it's the way people work. You have people that earn a small income, and you have people middle income, higher income, and as you go through those income levels, depending on your skill, your work, your history, etc., you go up into different areas, suburbs, etc., as you grow. And she wants to come, this Anele person, and she wants to tell Helen Zille that it is her problem for mentioning it. It's a reality. Anele now also mentions that, but Cape Town has certain areas that are better run than other areas. And there I want to mention that, well, bring me those ward councillors, show me those ward councillors in those areas that are not well run in places like Cape Town or any other place in South Africa. And show me who these ward councillors are that are not running their wards properly. And then you might discover the problem, because I can almost guarantee you that in those wards where things are not going great, more often than not, you will find councillors who are not DA councillors. What I found quite disturbing is the fact that Anele decided to rather attack Helen Zille on problems with Cape Town, rather than asking her pertinent questions about Johannesburg and becoming mayor of Johannesburg. And obviously, she should know of some problems, being a resident of Johannesburg herself. Why didn't you ask Helen Zille about those problems? Problems with electricity, problems with water. Johannesburg losing up to 46% of their water through leakage because of cracks, old infrastructure, etc. And Johannesburg currently is not replacing this old infrastructure. Helen mentioned that they are replacing something like 17 kilometers worth of pipes a year, while in Cape Town up to 200 kilometers are replaced per year. So that is a huge difference, 10 times more that Cape Town is doing. Why? Why is so much more work going into Cape Town than into Johannesburg? And these are the questions that should be asked. It felt like I was watching an influencer, a social media influencer show, rather than listening to a proper interview. It felt more like an interrogation by an ANC agent, being arrogant, cutting her off, being very disrespectful, not even giving her, in the last part especially, the chance to finish answering questions. Let me put that in context for you. Imagine Anele was sitting there and we take away race completely, or gender, doesn't matter, and we just have two people talking. Close your eyes and listen to the same thing again. Two people, don't even consider their histories of who they are in the world. Consider them just as normal human beings talking to each other. It becomes a completely different conversation. And this is where I have a problem, in that Anele did not speak humanely to Helen Zille with respect, trying to find out. I want to know, if I was an interviewer and I had the opportunity to speak to Helen Zille about her candidacy as a mayor for Johannesburg, I want to know, what are your first steps going to be when you walk in as mayor? What are you going to do? What are your first 100 days going to look like? What are the major issues you want to fix right now? What are your short-term and your long-term goals for Johannesburg? Not Cape Town, or the history of segregation that you think you believe exists there. Anele concentrated so hard on this whole segregation thing. Well, it is something that exists in every city and town in the world. It's got nothing to do with the government. You cannot build a road and then people come and they complain, oh, but I don't have a Ferrari to drive on that road. You cannot give cars when you are only responsible for building the road. And that's what government does. That is what the purpose is of governance. But unfortunately, you have a liberation mind, unfortunately, Anele has a liberation type mind, an ANC supporter type mind. And liberation, the ANC still do not get this. Liberation and governance are not the same thing. You cannot, in truth, what should have happened back in 1994 when the ANC took power, they should have said, we have liberated the country. We'll stand back and let the people choose a governance party, a party that knows how to govern. I'm very disappointed in 94.7 and this group, this person calls himself an interviewer. I will never refer to them as an interviewer because this was not an interview. It was a interrogation disguised as an interview. Very disrespectful, and I cannot say anything good about it because there is nothing good to say about it. Helen Zille, I'm not even a supporter of the DA or Helen Zille. I'm talking about a person that was supposed to be interviewed, that this person came and totally treated with disrespect. An older lady, yes, and she should have been given some kind of respect. Why do you think they chose Helen Zille? Why not a younger candidate? This is unfortunately the DA cutting themselves off at the knees. They themselves, they do not have any other candidates. And this is a problem within the DA. Something I might discuss a little later, because the DA doesn't create leadership role models in the way that other parties do. They do not allow party politics to go beyond the DA. You can't have young people having their own influencer channels, etc., growing themselves as possible leaders to take over leadership roles and then fill up the gap eventually. Because believe me, guys like John Steenhuisen eventually have to retire. And who's going to take over from him? We do not have any more Helen Zilles, and they need to start looking at this. Just an afterthought. Anyway, if you have any thoughts on the subject, please add them in the comment section. If you did find any value in this video, please do like, share and subscribe. And I will catch you in the next one.